Greeting, my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. This is L.D. Smith, the Watchman on the Wall. As always, grab your King James Bible. We have a fantastic one tonight. I mean, this right here will really shake your world. All right, grab your King James and let us go to the book of Job, chapter 1. All right, we did say the title would be Satan has been given a bad rap. All right, now let's go to verse 6 here in chapter 1. It says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came among them. Notice the word sons, S-O-N-S. Now we know that Yahweh has multiple sons, all right? But today he's only going to be speaking with one of his sons about Job. And that son that he's going to be speaking with today about Job is Satan, all right? His name is Satan. So now let us go here on and read verse 7. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Now we see Satan's occupation. Satan's job is to walk up and down in the earth and observe the Israelites and to see whether they're in line or not. That's his job. Because if you are not in line, then he is going to visit you. All right. Now, let us move a little further. Let us see verse 8 here. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. Verse 9. And Satan answered the Lord and said, doeth Job fear you for nothing? Or doeth Job fear God for nothing? In other words, Satan knows where his father is going, and he's asked him ahead of time, does Job fear you for naught? Because he knows that his father is finna tell him to visit Job. Now look what he says here. He says, hast not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. In other words, if I wanted to get him, I couldn't. Because you got a hedge around him. You are protecting him. But that's not really my job to bother him, because he is upright. He is one that is doing things like you commanded him to do. He's doing his sacrifices. He loves you. I mean, say Satan is at a point where he doesn't really understand what his father is doing. But let's read on. He says, but put forth thy hand now and touch all that he had, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of Yah. Now Satan done left the presence of Yah. Yah done told him what to do, but he have left the presence of Yah. Now watch these next verses, because they're very important. They're very important. All right. Now it goes on here in verse 13. It says, there was a day when Job's sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elders' brother's house. Now they done got together and they're having a feast. All the family has gotten together. They're having a feast. All right. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the ox were plowing and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sibas fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. All these things happened to Job's children all at once. While he yet spake, verse 16, There came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Now notice this verse here. It said that the fire of Yah, the fire of God. But now we have all been taught in these churches that, oh, Satan did this and Satan did that and all this old crazy stuff. I mean, in the New Testament, Satan is pictured as a bad guy. But he is only doing his job. He is doing what he has been told to do. But Jesus and Peter and Paul and John and all these guys, they label him as a bad guy. Like in one writing, this guy was going with his father's wife. One of them scriptures, I think over Corinthians, he says that the church turned him over to Satan. That the flesh may be killed, but that the soul might be saved. I mean, how can you turn anybody over to Satan? And y'all of the same group that talk about binding Satan, I bind you in the name of Jesus. Better get behind me, Satan. Now, how you gonna turn him over? He's a Christian. If y'all bind him together, well, then y'all turn him over. He can bind Satan himself. But that part, I don't understand. All that, all that foolishness. I mean, get real. That ain't nothing but a bunch of hoopla. Nothing but a bunch of foolishness. But yet and still, we run up and down the church acting like fools in Lucifer's house and then thinking that we're praising y'all, and we're not. We're praising Lucifer. And everything that Yah has, Lucifer has tainted it and put a bad name on it. Satan is not a bad guy. Now, let's go a little further here. He says here that the fire of God has consumed and burned up the sheep. Now, let us go over here to chapter 2, verse 1. But later on in your spare time, read the whole chapter, and you see how Job's children lost all that they had and their lives also. But Job said at the latter part of chapter 1, he said that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. But we have been taught every time something happened, oh, Satan took this, Satan took that. Not according to Job. Job says that when I lost all these things and my children, Yahweh did it. It wasn't Satan. It was Yahweh. Now let's look at chapter 2. Very, very, very important chapter here. It says, again, there was a day when the sons, S-O-N-S, of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. Now, I don't care what anyone says. You are not going to let your enemy come into the presence of your throne. And the thing about it, no one can come in God's presence unless he invites them. No one. No one can come into God's throne unless he allows them. If you know anything about kingship of the olden days in England, no one could come before the king unless the king summons them. You can't come on your own. You can't even go and see the president of the United States unless he calls for you, unless he says it's okay. So you have to understand, Israel, that we've been lied to. Satan is not a bad guy. He has to be, and he is Yahweh's son, one of them anyway.
Hello!
Now, it says in verse 2, it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the earth. He's perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. Now, if Satan had done anything to Job's family at all, why would his father come back and ask him, did you do what I asked you to do? Had you considered my servant Job? No, because he knew Satan had not done as he had instructed him to do. Why? Because Satan did not understand, why are you trying to put me on Job, and he hadn't done anything. There isn't any sin, there isn't any iniquity, there isn't anything wrong with him. Why are you telling me to do something to him? Follow the scriptures. Follow along with me. Look at what he says here. He says, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me. See, Satan abruptly interrupts his father and says, now you done said all this good about Job, he's perfect and upright and everything, and then he said, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. He ain't done nothing. But you still, Father, you still want me to do something to him, and he hadn't done anything. My job is, when someone is doing something wrong, get them back in line. This is what's puzzling Satan right now. He doesn't understand. Father, why are you asking me to do this? He ain't done nothing. Now, if he had done something, hey, turn me loose on him. I'll jump on him like white on rice. But he hadn't done anything. And he goes on to say, and Satan answered the Lord and said, meaning his father, skin for skin. Look what Yahweh said. Yeah. In other words, he said, you want me to get him? He said, get him. Get him. Skin for skin, get him. Get him. And look what happened. All that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thy hand now and touch him, touch his bones and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thy hand, but save his life. So went forth Satan from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sores, bars, from the sole of his feet unto his crown. Now, if you go back in chapter 1, the latter part of chapter 1, where it says that in verse 12, where he went forth from the presence of Yah, he didn't do anything. He didn't do nothing. Then you go on down and you read and say that the fire of God fell from heaven and consumed the servants and the sheep. God did that, not Satan. Satan is not a bad guy. Here he is. He's pleading on Job's behalf. You want me to get him? And he ain't done nothing. He said, get him. Why, he ain't done anything. Get him. But we've been taught by the white man, that Satan is a bad guy and he's just doing his job. We may look at it as a dirty job, but somebody has to do it, and that's the job that he has been given, to keep Israel in line. See, because God only had one people. That's us, the Israelites. That's all he is concerned about. He says Jacob lot is his inheritance. Nobody else. I don't care what Jesus said. I don't care what Paul said. I don't care what Peter said. I don't care what James said. As a matter of fact, I don't give a damn what none of that shit says in the New Testament. I mean that from the most innermost part of me. My life is in the Old Testament. I find myself in the Old Testament. That's where we are. That's our God. And those people that look like me are the only ones that I am concerned about. Anyone else? I don't care what you do. Like they passed that bill in California about the homosexuals. They do what they want to do. They didn't have the 10 Commandments. We had them. It was given to us and our ancestors, not them. They can go and lay with a hog if they want to. Doesn't matter. All matters to Israel is that we come back together and we look for our God to come back and get us, not Jesus, Yahweh. Now, let's move a little further. Let's go here and let's see here. It says here in verse 5, put forth thy hand now and touch his bones and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thy hand, but save his life. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sores, boils from the sole of his feet unto his crown. Satan only gave him sores and boils. He did not kill his children. He didn't kill his children's animals, his sheep and oxen and whatnot. No, Yahweh did that. As a matter of fact, I did a video about God and bad things. Now, that being said, let us move a little further here. I'm going to show you something else about Satan. Let's go to the book of Zechariah. Zechariah, the 3rd chapter. Make sure that you have your King James Bible now. Zechariah 3. Let's start with verse 1. It says, and he shewed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. Now Satan is standing at the high priest's right hand to resist him. See, Satan doesn't care who you are. If you're dirty and if you're wrong, he's gonna visit you. He's gonna visit you and he's gonna deal with you, Jack. Now